Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Transatlantic number GH-1631-DU. This is a door chain is what it is. This is a door chain that is, I've got part of the vinyl pulled back so we can look at the spring assembly as well. This is a door chain. They consider it heavy duty, and I do not disagree with that statement at all. Why is it heavy duty? Well, it's heavy duty because you've got dual springs on either side. There's one fully exposed. The size of the link on the chain, I would say you can consider that heavy duty. Okay, this is a pretty universal style chain in the sense that it will handle small doors all the way out to wide doors, and we'll go over that more in a moment. The 1631 is available in a 26D, so like a satin chrome finish, and then the DU, that's a dark, it's supposed to emulate a dark bronze type finish, or they call it Duranodic. That's probably just a powder coat, and I believe it to be a brass base material because the 26D is brass. Because it's powder coated, you can't really see the material itself that will tip you off as to it being brass. Although I have to tell you, I'm a bit suspect that this is actually brass and not zinc or some other non-ferrous based material. The casting looks suspect, but the point of the matter is it does appear to be heavy duty regardless of the base material. Now, let's talk about the fact that this is somewhat universal. The stock length of this item, it's about 33-inch overall length. Okay, now 33-inch overall length is going to be long. It's going to allow you to accommodate doors that are 3'6" and 4 foot wide, whereas a length for about a 3-foot door is generally about 25-inch. And if you have doors that are 2'4" or 2'6" or maybe 2'8", you're dealing with a length of a chain of about 20-inch. So that the chain length variable is directly related to the door width, and what I just said prior is to be used as a general guideline. They include a link, a chain link, that will allow you to take a link down over here. If you pull the vinyl back far enough, you'll be able to grab another link, bring it back over here and clip it together to shorten the length of the chain. Now what I do is, I believe a bit more elegantly, although it's more work, is I will slide this out, and you can see these two tangs here. I can slide them out and I can pinch them down so as to feed it back through the coil, and it's not easy to do, but it's doable because I've done it lots of times. And as I get those tangs pushed down, it's like watching paint dry. Okay, so we've got that tucked in. Those two tangs I have pinched in, and if I were to pull this piece through and slowly work that item all the way out, I'll be able to extract it completely, disassembling the spring. The point of that is you can take the spring back, take the vinyl cover back, and then cut with bolt cutters the spring so that you're not pinching the spring over and together, or I should say coupling it together in that way. I don't think it really matters so much. It would just be a sense of maybe a better look on the door, less chain to be hanging off the door. Now, the reason I say all that is because of the length of this chain is best suited for doors that are 3'6" or 4 foot in width. A stock or standard length for a 3-foot door is going to be that 25-inch or thereabouts. So you're probably going to have to modify the chain length to get this installed for your door application, unless of course you're dealing with all wide doors. If you are, then this will probably work. Now, along with that chain link, you're going to get that coupling link, you're going to get sheet metal screws. How to go about installing the item? Well, the manufacturer does not publish any data, unfortunately, any manufacturing guidelines, and that's a bit unfortunate because it does it does leave you, if you've never installed it, in the dark as to how to proceed. So here are some guidelines. If you've got that 2.6 door width plus or minus, probably take this chain down, of several inches. Just imagine where you're going to pinch it together, and then, however you're going to pinch it together. Start with the mounting pad installed on the header, on the stop, about 10 inches over. Then install, or imagine this on the door, about 10 inches in from the hinge edge. And then literally test that to make sure that your chain length is correct, that the door stops at a reasonable degree that you intend it to stop, and two other things: it doesn't conflict with a door closer or any other hardware, and finally, the amount of chain hanging off the top of the door and frame doesn't hit somebody in the head as they're walking through when it's in the proper position that you want. You don't want too much chain hanging down is the bottom line. As the door opens, if you've got excess chain, you're going to get to a significant degree of opening. If you've got wider doors, you're probably going to need to push the length, those two dimensions, out a little bit. If you've got shorter doors and a shorter chain, you're going to have to play with those variables. Chain length, then the positioning of the mounting plate on the header, and the positioning of the mounting plate on the face of the door. Okay, so all that has to be put together, and those general guidelines will hopefully allow you to proceed. Now, in terms of mounting, sheet metal screws, the absolute worst possible idea for these. The header, because you're going to be pulling on it in shear, you're going to get a lot more strength out of pulling those 4 screws in shear. But in this sort of aspect, where you're going to have the potential for tearing the screws out of the face of the door, sheet metal screws are probably going to fail, because if you're installing a door chain, you have a door that is being that has misbehaved to the point where you literally need to limit it to potentially guard against damage to the door, damage to the frame. Where the damage is going to potentially come in will be to the door, to the frame, to the wall, to the hardware, and obviously to people, last but not least. So a door chain is used as a way to attempt to remedy that sort of scenario. There are more appropriate pieces of hardware for doing this, and those are called overhead stops. They are items that are always prepped in the door and frame, always properly reinforced, and they are engineered to take the physics of a door going to a certain degree of opening and needing to dead stop. Because if you've walked into a sports stadium, you might have a bank of 16 doors, and all of those doors, they're pairs of doors. Well, the left-hand reverse leaf from one door is going to hit the right-hand reverse leaf from the other door. Those doors need to stop at 95 degree or whatever it is. Crash chains are not the appropriate hardware for that, especially that application. So you are going to see slide tracks installed up in the top. That's the right hardware. Even better than a crash chain, but in my opinion, below the overhead stop, would be a door closer that has a dead stop arm feature built into it, where the closer has been ordered with that arm, and the door and frame have been reinforced for it. However, both of those scenarios are generally not permissible, certainly in existing applications. And then you sometimes default to, what resource do I have available to me to dead stop the door? A crash chain that's where a crash chain comes in. However, I would recommend that you get through bolts, binder posts, sex bolts, whatever industry term you want to use, for some way to make sure that pad is solidly mounted through the door, because you're probably dealing with a door that's not been reinforced for the item whatsoever. Because it's an afterthought. You've got a door, it's going out, and it's slamming into something at 150 degree, and you just need to stop that from happening. The downside of not having a limiting device on a door in an exterior application is you can significantly damage the frame. Imagine concrete block wall with face brick. So let's say that that's going to kick us out to 11 inch. You've got a 5 3/4 frame that's mounted in the center. You're going to have 3 inches or so of that face brick that's going to be exposed. So now the door sitting in that opening with the thick wall, let's just say 12 inch. You're going to get that door out to 90 degree. That's okay. You keep going further, the exterior face of the door will make contact with the outside corner of that face brick. As the door continues to get pushed, it's going to take the frame and it's going to leverage it out, and it's going to significantly damage the installation that's been done holding the frame to the wall. You can see a scenario where you will partially begin to rip or make loose the frame actually attached to the wall. Now the problem with the door, it being an afterthought, is you won't have any reinforcing, at least to do a drill and a tap of machine bolts into the door. But even if it's properly reinforced, I would still through bolt it or sex bolt it, or through bolt, sex bolt, binder post. Those are terms that you can use for that. We can assist you with that bolt package as well. Through bolts, that would be greatly recommended. So the bottom line is, if you're going to install it with these, save yourself the trouble and don't even install one of them, because in my experience, the very first time that the chain will be tested, it will fail, is the bottom line. In the face of the door. So we've talked about the item itself, its properties, what it looks like. We've talked about some dimensional values in which to set the chain length to where to locate it on the door, on the face of the door, and then on the stop of the header. We've talked about, its use, the options, why it's used, why it's important to have it used, and in what cases you would use it. Finally, there's a link below this video to the product brochure, where you can review all things related to general hardware from Transatlantic. Moving forward, there is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page, where you can pull up not only all of the Transatlantic products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, along with a link to the full product catalog. The summary of Transatlantic is this: a company that imports very good quality builder's hardware from overseas. They've been doing it for decades. Here in Chicago, they're known as TACO, Transatlantic Company. The people that, certain distributors who will stock and sell Transatlantic products to their client base, realize a significant success rate in the field when it comes to their clients installing Transatlantic hardware, finding success with it, finding value in it, finding the ability to make to be profitable by installing it, and then in essence reselling it. Hardware specifically from Transatlantic that will absolutely make dollars and cents in both value and quality will be their hinges, their door closers, their lock sets, and especially their exit devices. Their ED-501 exit device is a part number that is decades old, is classified as grade 1, is inexpensive, and is all but indestructible. And in all of the years I've sold them, I've had one that has failed, all but indestructible. And the one time it failed is when a client at a restaurant had his welder attach it to the door. Well, when he threw 1800 degree Fahrenheit onto the exit device, he sure got it welded to the face of the door, but he melted the spring that keeps the latch in a extended position. Calls me up, hey, your panic device is no good. Go to the job site, you melted the spring. Having a background in welding myself, it was quite obvious what had to happen. I had to buy a new exit device and then properly install it. So that was the one time. So I'm very partial to those items from Transatlantic because of the years of success stories of those items. The Transatlantic is profitable, the distributor is profitable, the client is profitable, the end user is profitable, and it's all on the back of Transatlantic. This crash chain is really no difference in that sort of scenario. Don't weld it to the door and it won't fail. Properly attach it to the door and you'll find that it's a good piece of hardware. Anyway, if you have any questions on the Transatlantic GH-1631-DU, dark bronze crash chain, or any other transatlantic product, please feel free to reach out to us.